Hello, lovelies. Alrighty. Welcome to the Mama G gear with the crow, right? Because I love crows. Obsessions. Anyway, we're here to do a unconventional tutorial. Yeah, so this was the swatch that I did, and I didn't follow anything. I just kind of was farting around and came up with this. And I know that, every stitch that ever can be made has been made, but apparently this is considered either the X stitch or the cross stitch, but the way I did it was different than those stitches. I don't know how. I actually didn't even look it up yet to see what the cross stitch or the X stitch is, but apparently I did it differently. So we're going to call it the Mama G stitch, and it just makes me happy. All right. So then I thought, let's do a tutorial, or one of my unconventional tutorials. I'm just using the Premier Just Yarn from the $1.25 store. I want to thank my dear sweet friend Dory from Dory Did It. Go see her. Tell her to make some more videos. She had sent me some for the Sophie's thing that I've abandoned, the Sophie's blankets. I've abandoned them. They're still sitting there staring at me on a daily basis, but I'll get back to them. And so I got two different colors. I know it's like not hat season at this moment, but it's the only thing I could think of besides maybe a, washcloth or dishcloth or scrub, whatever, hand towel thingy for this. And I just didn't feel like going and getting cotton because it was in another room and I'm lazy. Okay, I do have a couple of my stitch markers and one of my threaders. And I will say also on the time of this video, I have quite a few stitch markers and many threaders. So if you are interested, just shoot me an email at mamaggear@yahoo.com. You pay shipping, give me a couple bucks towards the mental health of Meows, and we're all good. Okay, so how we're going to start this hat, we're making this as we go, so there is no rhyme or reason. This is how I do my slip stitch or whatever you call that thing where you start. I hope the crow behind here is not distracting. I just love my crows. And I thought for a hat, I would want to start the rim with like some half double crochets. And now I'm going to try to figure out if I can make this in the round. So this might be a complete bust. So that's why I wanted to videotape it just in case it isn't. All right, so what I would like to start with is a foundation, double crochet foundation. So you do 2 stitches, then you're going to yarn over, go into the first stitch. I think that they go through 2. Let's just do that. Let's go through the 2 that aren't the hump. All right, or maybe let's try. Let's start this all over again. All right. By the way, this is a all right, let's just do this. Hold on. We're going to start back from the beginning. Back up. All right, so we're going to do 2 stitches. This is a 3-weight, and I'm using a eye hook, which is a 5.5 of the furls, and I'm going to cross over, yarn over, whatever, and go through both of the V's. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, though. Let's just go through one of the V's, the top part of the V. I don't know. All right, and then you're going to go through 2 and then go through 2. And if you see, I'm pulling this bottom part out a little bit. I'm not making it tight because that's going to be your, we're going to go back into this when we continue around, I think. Like I said, this is unconventional, so I have no idea what I'm doing. So now I've yarned over, and I'm going to go through the next V, if I could find it. So the next V, little splitty, Next V, pull it up, go through two 2 on your hook, go through 2, and there you go. This is pretty much a foundation stitch. So let's do that again. Cross over or yarn over, go through the top 2 stitches with your hook, pull through, then you've got 3 on your hook. You're going to pull through 2 of them and then go through those 2. But this part here is the bottom of the stitch, so you don't want that to be too tight. All right, so let's go. All right, so I crossed over. Am I doing this wrong? Go through the 2, go through those 2, and go through those 2. Cross over, go through these 2. So you're kind of going backwards a little bit. This may be completely wrong, to be honest with you. I should probably have looked up how to do this before I started doing it. I don't even know how to end this thing. All right. And that went through 3. So, like I said, these are unconventional. This is showing you just how to start stuff and do your own thing. All right, so 2, 2, nope, slippy, slippy do. And nope, doesn't want to work. Oh, come on. And 2. And that made that a very loose stitch. A tight stitch on top. So anyway, this is pretty much a double crochet foundation stitch. And again, like I said, I reiterate in the fact that I may be doing this a little bit incorrectly. If I am, you do it properly. Don't follow what I'm doing. All right, and then, so I'm gonna just try to pick up the pace a little bit because I want to get around here. Yeah, I was really excited. I was just sitting there and I found that little ball of yarn and I said, let me just see if I could come up with some stitches, because I know that when I first started, my friend, I mean, I didn't know anything about anything. I just had yarn and hooks and started twisting and turning things and making things. And I didn't have patterns or know any stitches. And my friend was like, that's not even really a stitch, whatever it was that I did at that point. But it worked for me. So again, is not the first 2. I'm going back to these. I'm going through 2 and going through 2. Foundation stitch, as you could see, is way easier than doing a chain and then going all the way back. So I'd really like to start doing this stitch more frequently, especially with things like hats that you're going to be going around and around. And it just makes it easier because, you know, when you do a chain and then you're trying to go back through the chain, sometimes it twists and trying to find the loops and all that kind of stuff. It's just easier to do this because it's much easier to be able to see and navigate, you know, your stitches, but also so they don't twist and all that kind of stuff. And I might not do a whole big hat because I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure I have enough yarn with these 2 just yarn from Premier's to do a nice full hat. And I did grab 2 different colors. I prefer to have hats that aren't just all one color. I don't know, that's just me. And pull some, excuse me. And then yarn over, go through those 2. So I hope this is being helpful. Wished I knew some good jokes. Like I said last time, the only jokes I know I don't think I could say on YouTube. All right, so when this stitch again, I just was doing it. So when I started this stitch, the other stitch that I'm talking about, not this, I found that it works best, I guess, with an even number. All right, but I'm not really concerned with counting these stitches to make sure it's even or odd, because I have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. And if I do get it wrong, I could just fudge that. So a lot of fudge in crochet, and now I feel like having candy. Gosh, I haven't made fudge in years. I used to love to bake cookies, bake, broccoli breads and spinach breads and all that kind of stuff. And there was a time that I made my own, you say spaghetti sauce, but in an Italian family it's called gravy. And I used to make my own gravy from tomatoes out of the garden, which that's a nightmare if y'all have ever done that. You get like 3 huge paper bags full of tomatoes. You think you're going to have 18 pounds of sauce. And after they boil down, you're lucky if you get enough for a couple plates full of pasta that night. All right, usually when I'm making hats, I don't worry about counting. I pretty much use my head as a gauge. And if I'm making it for Rusty, her head's a little bigger than mine. If I'm making it for a kid, it's usually a little smaller than mine. So I kind of use my head as a gauge. And I'll just take this piece and wrap it around and see if it fits. If it's a little tight, I know it's smaller. I could add on if it's for a bigger person. If it's a little big, I could pull out a few stitches. So again, I'm not in the construct of, if that's the right word, of patterns and you need this many stitches for this size head and yada yada. I'm not knocking that. I just don't understand that and am not able to do that. As of now, I'm learning. Every day you're learning something new, which is a fabulous way to live. All right, so this is pretty much, I could have put you on pause, but I know you enjoy just spending time with me. Hopefully, anyway. I know, I'm missing Rusty. I was supposed to hang out with Rusty today, but I ended up making a bunch more medicine bags. And she was doing some crafting stuff at her house. We do this mystery bag raffle type thing in April at her store. I started it many, many years ago, and we're going to do it again this year. So I'm kind of trying to make things to fill up mystery bags. All right, I'm going to put this around my head, which is way too big for my head. All right, so it's a little bit big for my head, so it's a lot big for my head, to be honest with you. So we're going to backtrack a little. Take a couple stitches out of there. All right, now the fun part. How do you connect these? I have no idea. I'm assuming I want it to go like this. And that's the bottom. That's why this is unconventional, because I don't really know. I think I want this piece to attach on the bottom over here. Am I way off center here? So I'm going to slip stitch on this top 2 pieces. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch that. And I'm going to say that the bottom piece here, let's just do it. This bottom stitch, I don't think it makes a hill of beans if I get the right stitches, but oh yeah, I had to cut all my thumbnails off all the way down. They broke. But this is where the first tail, I hope you can see this. I know it's like a mess here, but this first tail that we started with, I'm going to slip stitch that through these 2, tighten it, and then pull that through or not, and then pull this through again. So I'm creating a knot on the bottom, okay? So this way it'll look maybe more even, I don't know. Maybe not. I might have just messed it up. All right, so now let's make sure we've got this proper. Yep. This is going to be a big hat. I mean, wide-wise. All right, so now I'm literally just gonna do some half crochets. And I'm not gonna bore you with going around here. I'm gonna pause you. And you guys all should know how to do a half crochet, but it just yarn over, go through the 2 V's, pull up, and then go through all 3, yarn over, go through the 2 V's, pull up. And this is probably one, I would say that the half double crochet is one of the most popular or most favorite stitches for many crocheters, because when you get the hang of it, you can really book through this stitch. And you're not me, because I'm clearly uncoordinated right now, but this could be a quick stitch. The double crochet is too, but this is just much easier, and you get a little more girth, and you use a little less yarn than you would if you were doing a single crochet. So for all those reasons, I think that's probably why it's the most one of the most favorites. I'm going to pause you, hopefully, not shut it off like I usually do, and then come back when I get back to the beginning. All right, so you hang on there. Let's see, what button do I hit? I believe I hit this one. Oh, I'm back on. Good. I did it right. Yay. Okay, so I'm near the back where I started. Here's the join. So we're going to just go into the next V, pull through, and that's the connection there. And since this was a little bit wide, I'm just going to skip over this connection and slip stitch into that, just because I want it to be a little tighter. And I think people start with like a stitch or two to start the next round. And I'm going to do another round. So now I've finished those two. That was this part here is the half double crochet foundation, and this is just 1 row. So look at already 2 times around, and we already got a pretty good size trim for the hat. But I want to go 1 more time around, and I'm not going to make you watch it all, but I did do 1 stitch and then went right into it. And again, I know people that stop and then turn their work and go the other direction. I've never done that again. It's because I never learned how to do this from someone who knew what they were doing. So I do all the wrong things. But if you're used to going and getting to that beginning point and turning your work like a lot of people do, you go right ahead and do that. Because I'm not showing you exactly what to do. I'm just kind of showing you what you could do if you want to. And if you don't want to, you do your own thing, because that's what it's all about, is creating your own creations. In fact, I was thinking about all the collabs we have, and the CALs, and hashtags, and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, gee, maybe we should do one, and I might do it, is, once a month, do a thing that's your own creation. Whether you get the basic idea from something, but then you give it your own cool twist to it, and switch it up and modify it and tweak it. So I'm still thinking that might be, let me know in the comments if you think that that's something that might be kind of fun to do, is kind of a create your own design. I think that's one thing I noticed is a lot of people, or crocheters and knitters, I'm finding that they have a difficult time crocheting without a specific pattern. And being that I don't know how to follow patterns, I follow a tutorial. Usually I'll follow a tutorial till I get the gist of it, and then I kind of do my own thing anyway. But maybe that would be fun to kind of get us out of that comfort zone that we have to make it exactly the same. And a lot of y'all do that. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't. A lot of you just, I mean, my gosh, you guys come up with your own patterns all the time, which is amazing, and I'm in awe of that. And at some point, maybe I'll be good enough and know enough to be able to come up with my own pattern. Well, actually, if I create this would be my own pattern, which would be nice. Hopefully it'll be nice, I should say. I guess I have come up with my own patterns. I have a couple crazy things that I've made that just were out of my head. So yeah. Okay, so I'm back to the beginning. And I did that one single crochet and then went into the double. So I'm going to go right into this. I'm going to pull that through. We're going to do a stitch in there. Now I think from this point, I'd like to, just going to give it a snip. I think I'm going to go to the red. And this is how I do it. I don't know how you guys do it. You do it however you're comfortable doing it. But I'm going to pull that a little tight. I'm going to hold on to this. And I'm going to pull this through. And pull this tight. Let me get it where you could see it. This is the hard part. This is the part of tutorials that most people fret. And rightfully so, because it's difficult to do this when you're pulling away from yourself to be able to show this on here, you know. All right, so I'm going to go. So now I'm going to be going into the Mama G stitch. Yes, we are calling it that. I don't know. We got to add something to it because it is kind of the cross stitch or the X stitch, but I do it differently. So the Mama X stitch? I don't know. I don't know. Come up with a name. Come on. All right. So first, I'm going to tie these two behind them. And we're going to get back to the yellow. I just didn't feel, sometimes I leave if I'm going to be switching colors, I'll leave the other color behind. And just work it up. But I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Like I said, this is really just screwing around. So, all right. So now we're at the back of the hat. And if I remember correctly, I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with 2. I'm going to skip 1. And I'm going to leave the tags. Sometimes I usually try to close in the tags as I go, but I'm going to leave the tags so as not to make one more thing. But otherwise I would, well, maybe this one I'll put over here. Let's put them both. Since we're here, I'm grabbing both of my tags. I'm going to put them behind. All right, so I'm going to skip the first one, go into the second, pull it through, do a double crochet, cross over, and then go behind. Go through those 2 stitches, and I'm pulling that thread in front, and there we go. That looks weird, but it should be it. Then going to go skip 1, go to the next one. Try to disregard the tails. I really should. You know what? I should pull the tails out because I think that's distracting, and I'll just sew them in later. Okay. All right, so we skipped 1. We did a couple double crochet, yarn over, go through the back, go through your V, and I pull my yarn in front, and then pull that in front and go over through both. Cross over, skip 1, go to the next one. Do your double crochet, cross over, go under into that V, pull your yarn, and there you go. Cross over, skip 1, go into the next, pull through, cross over, under from behind, pull your yarn so it's in front, do another double. So it's really just double crochets. And then go behind and go. I like the fact that I did the yellow first because this is really getting you to be able to see it. I apologize that the burgundy is darker than I had hoped. Skipping 1, go to the next, do a double crochet, cross over, go into that stitch, pull your yarn in front and do it again. And this is pretty much what I was doing on that little swatchy thing. Come on, here we go. So now I didn't want to really look up the cross stitch because I didn't want it to affect what I came up with on this. Skip one, double crochet, yarn over, go through the back, and then there we go. Skip one, do a double, yarn over, go through the front there and go. Skip one, do a double, yarn over, go through the back, and I pull the yarn in front. And again, go into the back, and then I just kind of, I pull that, the using yarn, whatever the working yarn, in front so that it doesn't get caught up and it just lays more nicely. So you pull that there. Yeah, so this is pretty much, I hope you're able to see this. I feel badly now that I picked the burgundy color. I wasn't really thinking about the fact that it'd be harder for you to see, especially with the black crow behind you. Again, I didn't plan this out. I was just did that swatch, and I was like, oh, let me try to see if we could do a hat. Really, I'm just avoiding having to do the things I'm supposed to be doing, so this is just an excuse to not do what I'm supposed to be doing, I guess. I don't know. And we got a knot. We got a yarn barf. Christy. So yarn over, go into the second, and hopefully we'll end up with an even number. But like I said, we got a 50-50 chance, so I go through all the hassles of counting stuff and blah, blah, blah. I go to the easiest resistance from point A to point B. And then go into the back. Pull that through. I'll do this one slowly. And let's see, where am I? If I can get, I guess you could see. All right, so this is we're going to skip one. We yarned over, skip one, pull through two, pull through two, get rid of that fuzz, yarn over, and see that stitch in between right here, that V stitch? That's where we're going to go from the back to the front, pull your yarn in, then pull it through those two and through that one there. I hope that was understandable. I mean, I don't plan on, these are, like I said, again, unconventional tutorials. So if you're brandy noonie behind the ears, nice and wet, this would not maybe be for you. But if you have a little knowledge, obviously, of a double crochet and a half crochet and foundation stitch and so on and so forth, you'll be able to figure this out. And again, back through there. And I'll pull you through this whole round, and then once I figure out, like, I'm still trying to, I have no idea at this point that if we get back to the beginning, which we're almost there, if this is going to be able to be done in the round. Like I did the other one back and forth. So this is going to look a little different because we're only going to be going in the one direction instead of the other one we went back and forth. So you had a back side and a front side put together. So this is going to look a little different. If it's even possible, I don't know. We'll find out. As we go, we learn together. Skip one. We're almost there, so just be patient. Or fast forward, whichever. Skip one. Oh, getting cocky. Too confident. All right, so now I have 2 stitches left, so that's perfect. See, I didn't even have to count, and I'm right where I wanted to be. So I'm gonna, it's a little tight. Gonna put through that one. do that stitch, come on behind the back door, and there we go. So now, I guess we'll just slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch right in this here, which we did 2 chains, correct, in the beginning? So there's 1, 2 chains when we first started after the slip stitch, and I'm going to go into the top of the V of the second stitch, and that's where I'm going to slip stitch, okay? And I'm slip stitching there. I'm going to pull tight, and then I'm going to go 2 more, 1, 2, and then, all right, now this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to put this behind here so that you have a brighter thing to see. All right, so see the X's? You have a space here, which is the end of the beginning of the second stitch, technically, and that's the first stitch you did. Okay, so we crossed over, and we're going to go into that first stitch you did. All right, same thing, just a double. Go over, and then we're going to go into that the second stitch you did. There, okay, and the same thing here. So you've got those 2 pieces, but then you've got this stitch and this stitch. This one's a part of that stitch. So we're going to go into this second one, do a double, and then go back to the first, and then get a little more yarn. I'll do it one more time. There's your stitches. You've got a hole here and a hole there. It's a V and a V. Cross over, go into the second V, do a double, yarn over, and go back into that one, and finish your double. There's your next stitch. Go into the second one, so you're going to skip that first one, do a double, go back into that hole through that V, and go back up through. I'll do one more time. See the stitch? Going to go into that second one, do your double, yarn over, come into the back door, pull that up through, go through 2, go through 2. 1, 2, here we go again. So these stitches that we're building right now are going to be exactly on top of the stitches prior to the previous row. All right, so let's see, here's our stitches. I'm going to go to the second one, yarn over, go through that triangle, grab it, through them and back. Skip that one, go to this one. Needed a little more yarn there, and back through that. So that's basically it. And look how pretty that's going to be. I'm really super excited about that. I mean, I just thought this was the prettiest stitch. And it's got a lot of air holes in it. So this would be a nice spring hat, because your head could breathe. So even though I'm making a hat, it is, you know, spring or fall worthy. So let's see, we did that stitch. So here's our next stitch. Yarn over, go through that top V, the second top V. And I'm not pulling tightly. I'm not doing like super loose, but I have not tried this doing it in a tight stitch, which it might be more difficult to backtrack with if you did that. I don't know, perhaps. But anyway, yeah, this is pretty much the stitch. So when you get back to the beginning, slip stitch in that second chain that you started with after your slip stitch, and then chain 2, and then go into the second part of the X. Wish I could crochet the letter G. Now my brain will be up all night trying to figure that one out. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Now, being that it's a hat, when you're doing hats, you usually... Oh, look at that. Christy, look at Yarn Barf. It's so funny how every time I get Yarn Barf, I think of Christy. I guess most of us do, but it just cracks me up. It's amazing how people pop into our minds for the strangest things. Like the bag that Dory had given me was a Verna Bradley bag, yet the name Verna Bradley is so close to Verna Bradshaw that I call it my Verna Bradshaw bag. And I do use it a lot because it's so beautiful. And whenever I go out anywhere and I take my Verna bag, I think of Verna Bradshaw. So now I just call it my Verna Bradshaw bag. Thank you again, Dory, for that, because I really do love it. I get compliments on it too. People are like, oh, that's so pretty. And I feel kind of like a Fafa too when I use it. Not really. I'm not really a designer person. I mean, I've in my life, I was, I went from living out of my car. I mean, anywhere from living out of my car to having Cadillacs and forming dinner parties at, you know what I'm saying, buying designer dresses and whoop-de-doo. But it builds character. To be really honest with you, I'd much rather not have all that fancy schmancy stuff. That's just me, it's too much pressure to have to fit in with the Joneses. I'd rather just be myself. And if the Joneses don't like me, they don't have to come over for dinner. No skin off my nose. All right, so we're almost on this next round. And what I had started saying, and then I distracted myself as usual, is with hats... Oh, no, I didn't do the V. With hats, usually as you're going up, you decrease. And I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So I may or may not decrease. We are back to the very beginning. Here's our last stitch. I've already crossed over, or yarned over. And then that's the last of that stitch. We're back to the beginning. Here is our... God, how did cat hair get on this yarn? Must be on me. We got 1, 2 chains, and then we went into the double. So on that second chain in, on the top of the V, if I could see what I'm doing. All right, hold on. What's difficult, if you have never done a tutorial, is that you're holding your project farther away from you than you would if you were actually doing it. So it is a tad uncomfortable. But anyway, all right, so I got it through the top V. I'm just slip stitching it and pulling. And so then I'm going to do 2 more and then start again and do this row all over again. So basically this is it until we get to the top part and figure out what we're doing. And I think that's pretty cool looking. And I might cut the yarn and do a row of yellow while we're in there, or wait and make this more of a slouch hat, and then perhaps make a pom-pom on the top with the 2 colors of yarn. I don't know. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to put you on pause and continue on. And I thought I needed, aren't these adorable? Come on, folks. They glitter. This has glitter in them. I don't know if you could see the glitter, but aren't those cute? And they're glass too. So if you're interested, let me know. And then I have my threaders, which I may or may not need in this project. But I'm going to continue doing this, and then I will be back. Let me make sure I hit the right button. Alrighty, so we're back, and I've gotten to this point. Here's the furls hook to give you a reference on how tall this is. I guess I could slide it over a little. I didn't decrease on the top because I've decided to make this kind of a slouch hat. And I don't have one of my styrofoam heads here, but I do have my wooden wet felt mold hat. Use this to, when you're wet felting and you want to make a hat, you just keep stretching it onto this. And this is the size of my head, kind of, I guess. So let's see how this is fitting. I didn't count how many rows because I just, you know, I'm doing this instead. All right, so that, I'll pull it sideways to show you that that's almost covering the entire, did you see that? The bottom. Solid piece of wood, by the way. It's got a hole in the middle. All right, so now what I'm going to want to do is slouch this top part. And how I decided to do that, because we are winging this. This is really fun because this is the process of creation as we speak. And instead of doing the twist thing back and forth, oh, I did want to show this too. This is pretty cool. Maybe if I could put something white behind it. All right. I don't know if you could see this, but this row right here is the join. And that's, you hardly see that, so I'm very impressed with that. Very happy about that. I opted not to do a yellow stripe because I just want to get this done with, to be honest with you. So what I've decided to do, since this is a crisscross, and this is more of a cool weather hat as opposed to a cold weather hat. And living in Western New York, yes, we have cold weather hats, 3-4 layers thick. But this is more of a cool weather hat, something that we would wear around here, maybe the fall or this time of year in the spring. Or if you're elsewhere in the country or somewhere where just a little something over your head would be nice and keep you warm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do the 2 stitches. And instead of doing 2 double crochets in each of the areas, I'm going to go through that main one, do a double, and then just go to the next main one. So I'm not going backwards. I'm going to the first one that you would do if you were doing the crisscross. And I'm literally just going to go around the whole hat, which would be half the time because I'm only doing half the stitches. This will pull in the top, so this would actually serve as a decrease and also give it a little bit of a different look on the very top. And like I said, I may or may not make a pom-pom on here. I don't know. We'll decide as we go, right? That's the fun part about this, for me anyway. When I'm creating things, I don't like to think too far ahead. I figure that once I get to where I am, I'll come up with the next step. So this is what I've come up with for the next step. And again, I'm only going into the first stitch that you would go into. Instead of going backwards, I'm just going to the next 1 stitch. So this is gonna, hopefully this will give it somewhat of a decrease. And it has holes in it, so this is giving it holes, but the entire hat has holes in it anyway. So I love that. I really, oh, cat hair, I swear. One day I won't have animals in my house. Never. There'll always be animals in my house. I'm really, really loving the definition on this stitch. It's very pretty. A lot of texture. All right, let's go. I'm going to go through both, not just the one. There we go. All right, so we're almost all the way around. And this one, very quickly, I had turned you, well, I had you on pause, and then when I tried to unpause you, I turned it off, so now I've got to join this to it. All right, so we're back to the stitch, and I'm going to, again, just go through those 2, hopefully. and do a slip stitch. And nope, what's going on here? Oh, I missed that. Hold on. I'm going to go back. See, we all make mistakes. So I'm going to go back there because I didn't have all the threads on it. So back to here where I'm going to go through the top V part, do a slip stitch, and I'm going to pull this through. Now I'm going to give a little bit of yarn, pull it through, and see how it kind of, all right, so it did already pull that in, but I want the least amount of stuff, you know, I don't want it too clumpy on top because this is not I didn't make it tall enough to make it a super slouch, so it's going to probably fit not as much of a slouch hat as I'm thinking. All right, so here's my threader. Just put your needle in that part, put your yarn, pull through, and you're threaded. Yay! Okay, so now also let's use one of my stitch markers. And I'm using this stitch marker in the very first notch so that I know where I'm going to end. And you'll see why why I do this in a sec. So often I'll go through just the back of the V in these stitches, but since I've already narrowed it down quite a bit, I'm going to go through both in the V, and I'm literally just going through the V and pulling through. And that V was there, so I go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and then you can give it a tug. Hence why I put that's there, I put the stitch marker so I know where I started. All right, so this is literally just putting the darning needle through the top of the V stitch on the tops of these double crochets. And then giving her a tug. But we'll pull it all together when we get near the end. But you could tighten it as you go. I do that sometimes. Another reason why I do the stitch marker, because I'll tighten it as I go. And a few more stitches and then we're pretty much done. Then it's really just a matter of tying in a couple ends. So not a problem. Oh my God. I think I have just the cat hair. Moo was all over me. He's just, I don't know what his problem is. He's just having some real anxieties. So we're going to put him on the Box Rescue Remedy. If you've never heard of Box Rescue Remedy, it's all natural herbs that they use for all kinds of animals and humans. It's somewhat like a CBD concept, but it's all calming herbs like chamomiles and so forth. All right, so now I'm back to this. What is this? Oh, it's just a loopy loop. We're going to pull this. So I'm back to my stitch marker. I'm really loving that seam. You barely see it. What a nice surprise. So I'm back to my stitch marker, which means that's the beginning, and I'm going to pull one more through there. Okay. So now we're tightening that hole. I'm going to pull this out now because we don't need it anymore. But aren't those cute? If you're interested, let me know. Like I said, I made a bunch of them. I mean, I can give them away as giveaways and stuff. It's not a problem. All right. So I'm tightening this up. And then I'm going to do just kind of pull it through. There's no real rhyme or reason here. And then I'm going to wrap that twice. Hold it tight on the needle. Hold it with my stubby thumb. Pull it through so we've got a knot. And then just kind of weave in the sections here. Pull through. And if you haven't pulled this really too tight, when you're doing this part, you can go all the way around and pull it again if you'd like to tighten up the that hole, but I did already. And now I'm going to go backwards because you want this to stay in there, you know. So now I'm going backwards, or in the other direction, I guess. Yes, this came out pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised. And then one more time in the other direction. And then I'm going to pull it through. I'm just going to put it right through that hole. Whoop. Here's the inside. And in here, I'm going to go across. Or get a grip here. And do another double knot. Or double circular thing. So that's pretty reinforced. I'm not going to cut this off, because if I do decide to put a pom-pom, I'm going to use this to tie that pom-pom on. So basically all I have to do now is tie in that end and tie in these two ends. Let's push this aside. And let's see how we look on our wooden head. It's a wooden skull, yes, that fits Mama G's head. It is the size of my head, which is cool. So, yeah. So that's the top. That's how that looks. You can, if it's loose enough, you get a little bit of a poof. And I think that's adorable. I'll show you the side view. What do you think? Hey, for just popping something out of my head, I think that came out pretty cute. And I'm really loving this stitch. Anyway, yeah. That's our unconventional tutorials. Unconventional tutorial. The man just walked in as I'm singing, right? Oh my God. All right, so that's our hat. I think we did a good job. It took me from beginning to end, maybe an hour, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Not much. But yeah, any colors. And you could switch colors when you're, you know, up into here. Just join the new color when you're going in that single stitch or that slip stitch, and then do a couple rows. Alrighty, so the man is walking through. If you hear anything fall, that's him knocking over the lamp. And he didn't. All right, bye for now. Be well. Again, I'm reminding you, we've got some threaders and some stitch markers galore. So just shoot me an email if you're interested in any. Have a great day. Be fabulous, because you are. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.